Ellen DeGeneres didn't just shake hands with viewers, she built an entire empire on a simple promise: be kind to one another. From her first daytime episode in 2003, she flooded television screens with bright smiles, spontaneous dance breaks to U2 songs, and feel-good giveaways that felt more like warm hugs than talk show banter. Week after week, fans watched as surprised contestants erupted in tears of joy over oversized checks, as celebrity guests joined her on stage to dance the Carlton, and as happy reunions played out like small fairy tales in real time. By 2015, her show had become a true ratings juggernaut, routinely drawing over 4 million viewers each day and racking up a staggering 61 Daytime Emmy Awards. Behind the scenes, the set was meant to be a bubble of goodwill. Crew members spoke of Ellen Magic, a carefully curated environment where balloons drifted through the halls, staffers got birthday shout-outs on camera, and the phrase "kindness above all" was spray-painted on studio walls. Production assistants believed they were part of something special, a family united by laughter, generosity, and joy. When Ellen surprised an audience member with a dream vacation or gifted a teacher a car, it felt as if viewers were peeking into a world where generosity truly had no bounds. Yet, as any tightrope walker knows, the higher you soar on a pedestal of niceness, the farther you fall if the floor underneath you is rotten. For every on-air moment of goodwill, there were whispers among crew members about an unspoken rule. Never make eye contact with her in the hallway, never ask a stupid question, and certainly never be late. The same set that felt like a haven of laughter to millions also carried a weight of unspoken tension. Little things that simmered beneath the surface, invisible to the live audience, but impossible to ignore for those who clocked in day after day. So how did the friendliest host on television become the center of some of the toughest headlines Hollywood has seen in years? Keep watching, because in the next section we'll dive into the earliest rumors and viral whispers that set the stage for a scandal no one saw coming, yet everyone will be talking about.
On camera, she laughed while she badgered her staff. And so all good things must end. And also the Ellen DeGeneres Show. Yes, the 83-year-old entertainer just announced that the upcoming 19th season of her show will be its last. Apparently, she created a workplace more toxic than an Amazon warehouse in Chernobyl. Countless allegations surfaced last summer that the show's work environment was rife with harassment and discrimination. Following those charges, Ellen's ratings dropped faster than Kevin Spacey's pants at a boy band pool party.
For years, the idea that Ellen DeGeneres could be anything other than charming felt absurd. She was America's quirky aunt, the one who danced through life, made you laugh, and reminded you to be kind. But something strange began to happen around 2018. Whispers started leaking out of the bright, balloon-filled world of The Ellen Show. At first, they were easy to dismiss: unverified stories on Twitter, a random Reddit thread, or an anonymous blog post claiming Ellen was not as nice as she seems. But those whispers didn't go away. They multiplied. It started with comedians, then former employees, then guests who quietly hinted that their time backstage wasn't exactly warm and fuzzy. One former bodyguard described her as cold, saying she barely acknowledged him at all. A viral Twitter thread in 2020 by comedian Kevin T. Porter exploded with anonymous stories of Ellen's alleged cruelty. Thousands of replies flooded in, many unverifiable, some ridiculous, but a few eerily consistent. People claimed she had employees fired for chewing gum, that she had a no eye contact rule, that she'd send notes to staff if their lunch orders annoyed her. It felt like the entire internet had been waiting for permission to say, "Actually, I've got a story too." And then came the moment that changed everything: the Megyn Kelly and Greg Gutfeld roasts. In a segment that went viral within hours, Megyn Kelly bluntly called Ellen's apology performative, questioning how much of her kindness was ever real. Greg Gutfeld, on The Five, went further, mocking the entire kindness brand and comparing it to a Hallmark villain origin story. They weren't just criticizing the show, they were framing Ellen as the architect of a Hollywood illusion. These weren't internet nobodies. They were mainstream voices turning public sentiment. The floodgates were open. But was this just social media hysteria, or were the rumors grounded in something more serious, something systemic? Keep watching, because in the next section we'll get to the real turning point: the internal investigation, the employee testimonies, and the headlines that even Ellen couldn't laugh off.
It was just the excuse. She is, Emily, I watched her comedy special. It was like a huge pity party. It was about how she was lamenting how her reputation has suffered. She's essentially as popular as a pit bull with monkeypox. But she's putting this on Trump. Do you think that she's going to be, just everybody's going to love her in England?
By mid-2020, the rumors had outgrown Reddit threads and anonymous tweets. They were now full-blown headlines on major outlets: BuzzFeed, Variety, NBC. The smiling fortress of the Ellen DeGeneres show was cracking, and what was behind it wasn't just ego or awkward encounters. It was something deeper, darker. In July 2020, BuzzFeed News published a bombshell investigation. The article didn't just allege that Ellen was mean, it accused the show's leadership of fostering a toxic workplace. Former employees spoke out, not anonymously this time. They described a culture of fear, racism, intimidation, and favoritism. One employee said they were fired after taking medical leave for a suicide attempt. Others described microaggressions and being punished for reporting discrimination. The most damning part? These weren't isolated incidents. They were systemic. It wasn't long before Warner Media launched an internal investigation. Executives conducted interviews with dozens of past and current employees. And then came the announcement that shook daytime TV. 3 senior producers were fired, not suspended, fired. Ellen, once untouchable, was suddenly tethered to a workplace scandal she could no longer dance her way out of. In a deeply awkward moment, Ellen opened the season 18 premiere with an apology. The jokes were there, but so was a visible discomfort. She said, "If you're watching because you love me, thank you. If you're watching because you don't, welcome." It was a rare moment of humility, but to many, it felt too late. Or worse, insincere. And remember that viral Greg Gutfeld clip? This is where it resurfaced. Just as Ellen was trying to spin a redemptive arc, Gutfeld's roast was circulating again, punctuated with a line that hit different now. If you have to remind people every day to be kind, maybe you're not. So, was this the beginning of a comeback? Or the start of a slow, quiet collapse?
I have a question for you on this. This is perfect for you. Because I'm seeing this week that there is an attempted comeback by somebody who did not cross one of those fateful lines of the misstepping on their sacred cows of gender or race or sexuality.
Yeah.
But she was said to be a nasty biatch, and that's Ellen DeGeneres.
Yeah.
So her show got canceled after she had this testy exchange with Dakota Johnson, where something happened where Dakota said, "Oh, I had this birthday party," and Ellen said, "Well, why didn't you invite me? You didn't invite me." And she said, "No, I did invite you, Ellen. That's not what happened." And Ellen had blown her off and then tried to play the victim on the set with her. Anyway, it led to article after article of people being like, "Ellen's a bitch. Ellen is a nasty person."
Keep watching, because next, we'll look at what Ellen did next. The media plays, the celebrity defenses, and the silent retreat that may have sealed her fate. After the BuzzFeed expose and the internal investigation, Ellen was cornered. But this wasn't her first PR battle, just her biggest. So, in classic celebrity fashion, she did what many before her have done: the apology tour. She kicked off season 18 of the Ellen DeGeneres show with a public mea culpa. "I learned that things happened here that never should have happened," she said, pausing with practiced empathy. The audience, masked and socially distanced due to COVID, clapped politely. She joked, smiled, and tried to ease back into the role of America's nice aunt. But it didn't land. Critics said it felt like she was apologizing because she had to, not because she meant it. The delivery was wooden, too calculated. And the message? It centered her feelings, her reputation, her journey. The timing of it all couldn't be worse. In a post-Afash Me Too, post-Black Lives Matter world, the public had less patience for performative apologies. People weren't just canceling, they were scrutinizing. Some celebrities jumped to Ellen's defense. Katy Perry, Kevin Hart, Ashton Kutcher, each posting support on social media. But it backfired. Viewers saw it as out-of-touch Hollywood privilege. Why were millionaires circling the wagons instead of acknowledging the voices of underpaid staffers? Meanwhile, Ellen tried to pivot. She released a string of feel-good episodes. More dancing, more giveaways, more celebrity interviews. But the tone had changed. The laughter felt hollow. The kindness felt scripted. This was no longer the invincible daytime queen taking a PR hit. It was a woman fighting to reclaim a brand that the public no longer believed in. And yet, was it too early to count her out? Keep watching for Section 5, where we explore Ellen's surprising final season announcement and the real reason she may have chosen to walk away before the audience did.
It led to article after article of people being like, Ellen's a bitch. Ellen is a nasty person. And all these staffers started to come out, not for nothing, but I know a guy, I know him very well, whose sister worked for her, who said, you were not allowed to make eye contact with Ellen in the halls of that show. If you saw her, this is not a nice person. So she eventually got canceled.
In May 2021, Ellen dropped the bombshell. After 19 seasons, she was ending the Ellen DeGeneres show. The reason she gave? It's just not a challenge anymore. To many, it sounded convenient. After all, ratings were plummeting. The show had lost major advertisers, and public goodwill was still circling the drain. Internally, some staffers claimed they weren't surprised. It had been tense behind the scenes for months. Others thought she might stick it out, rebuild. But Ellen wasn't just reading cue cards, she was reading the room, and the room wasn't clapping anymore. But here's where it gets interesting. Ellen didn't slink off quietly. She controlled the narrative. Interviews were lined up. Headlines were managed. She framed the exit as her choice, not the fallout from a broken empire. Even Oprah came on to give the show a graceful goodbye. It was designed to feel triumphant, nostalgic, warm. Cue the montage of celebrity hugs and tearful audience members. But under the glossy send-off, the shift was undeniable. Greg Gutfeld couldn't resist roasting the farewell tour, quipping, "She's leaving daytime TV the same way a sinkhole leaves the street." Suddenly, and after weeks of everyone pretending it wasn't going to collapse. That bite stung because it rang a little too true. Still, Ellen's departure was layered. Was she retreating, rebranding, resetting? Some speculated she'd pivot to a streaming platform or focus on her game show. Others believed she'd fade into a quiet, semi-retired life, retreating from the spotlight that had both made and unmade her. But what's certain is this. Ellen didn't just lose a TV show, she lost the myth of untouchable niceness. And in an era where authenticity trumps branding, that was her real Achilles' heel. Still, her legacy isn't just scandal and downfall.
Story. So Ellen and her wife, Portia, have left their millionaire haven of Montecito for England. Now, they're saying they'll never come back in the wake of Trump's win. Do you think that's the reason why she's leaving?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
I mean, Ellen got canceled for real a few years ago from just being a jerk.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't like a single comment she said or something she did, just lots of people saying that working for her was a living nightmare and that she's a jerk.
At the height of her fame, Ellen was more than just a host. She was a symbol, a progressive trailblazer, a daily dose of feel-good energy. She danced, gave away checks, made celebrities cry, and reminded us all to be kind. But by 2020, that message had curdled into something else. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Be kind had become a brand, and kindness, when used as a shield, stops looking genuine. Social media didn't just expose Ellen's behind-the-scenes hypocrisy, it sparked a much bigger question. Why do we worship celebrities for being nice in the first place? As Gen Z and millennials grew more skeptical of corporate wokeness, there was less tolerance for shiny veneers and choreographed compassion. Authenticity became the new currency, and Ellen's overly polished persona felt outdated. Enter the age of the unfiltered influencer, the TikTok anti-hero, the messy but relatable content creator. Suddenly, the perfect studio lighting and choreographed applause of daytime TV looked suspiciously fake. Even Megyn Kelly, no stranger to PR controversy herself, chimed in on Ellen's image collapse. This was someone who built an empire pretending to be the queen of niceness. And now, we're realizing that empire was built on fear, favoritism, and silence. So when Ellen fell, it wasn't just her downfall, it was a cultural correction. We weren't just canceling a talk show host, we were retiring a type of celebrity altogether. The invincible, untouchable figure who danced over scrutiny and hid behind a catchphrase. But if the age of be kind is over, what comes next? That's where we go in the next section, as we look at the post-Ellen landscape and who's tried to take her place in the cultural spotlight. The throne is empty. The cameras are still rolling, and the question now is, Who dares to sit in that chair next?
And I think also
I'm
to
just
admit
like,
your
of
mistakes.
all people on earth to be feeling sorry for herself, Ellen DeGeneres should not be on the list.
She should at least, but make a real apology and do it.
There's no apology. It's just woe is me. I was run out of Hollywood as she speaks from this grandiose stage on Netflix. Hello, you haven't been canceled if you are doing a Netflix special. She got $20 million for the one before this. I'm sure she's fine.
When Ellen signed off in 2022, she didn't just end a show, she left behind a power vacuum. Her daytime dominance, the celebrity interviews, the viral bits, the human interest giveaways, was suddenly up for grabs. But what came next wasn't a clean transition. It was chaos. First up, the imitators. Producers tried to slot in the next Ellen. Kelly Clarkson, Drew Barrymore, even Jennifer Hudson. All bubbly, all warm, all safe. But none of them had Ellen's cultural grip. They were nice, sure. Talented, yes. But groundbreaking? No. It's not that they failed. It's that the entire format felt broken. Because by now, audiences weren't just looking for heartwarming interviews. They wanted authenticity, messiness, real stakes. That's why the replacements never really hit. They weren't cancelable, but they also weren't watchable in the same way. It's like daytime TV was trying to reboot itself with 2008 energy in a 2025 world. Then came the disruptors, podcasters, TikTokers, YouTubers, creators with ring lights instead of studios, and drama instead of polish. They didn't need to ask celebrities softball questions. They became the celebrities. And sometimes, the villains.
Ellen told the Today Show, home of Matt Lauer, that the bad press actually had nothing to do with her decision. Right, and the Titanic didn't hit an iceberg. It chose to sink.
If it was why I was quitting, I would have not come back this year. I really did think about not coming back because it did, it was devastating. I am a kind person. I am a person who likes to make people happy.
No, the real reason, she says, is it was just too easy. Telling the Hollywood Reporter, quote, when you're a creative person, you constantly need to be challenged. And as great as this show is, and as fun as it is, it's just not a challenge anymore. Well, if that's true, here's an idea. When your viewership is down 43%, why not consider that the challenge?
From Fox News late night to digital dominance, Greg didn't try to replace Ellen. He torched the whole playbook. And that's what made it work. It wasn't about being likable. It was about being unfiltered, raw, sometimes outrageous. That shift exposed a deeper truth. Ellen's downfall didn't just end an era, it rewrote the rules of celebrity itself. And yet, she still casts a long shadow. Because even now, every new host, every digital darling is measured against what Ellen was and what she pretended to be. So what happens to the throne? Maybe no one can fill it. Maybe that kind of power was never meant to last. Or maybe someone's already getting ready to sit down. In the next section, we look at the person you'd least expect, someone who's turning backlash into influence and controversy into a brand. It's not a redemption arc. It's something stranger. And you're going to want to see who it is.
I'm going to let her back in, Rob, because she's a lesbian, she's a leftist, and she didn't hit one of their sacred cows. Nastiness, that's their bread and butter.
Well, I think everyone, I will say, like, the resentment, I think everyone should have a chance for reconciliation. I don't think Jesus exempted anybody. And so I do, while it does, because I have been allowed back in, but I don't hold any grievance and resentment. It's very important. And I would just say for Ellen, the resentment, you have to know, you have to get over resentment to whatever addiction or addictive qualities happen. To get over it, you have to deal with resentment and address it. And then otherwise you're going to fall back into the same path.
So where does that leave us? A comedian who rose through hate crimes and homophobia became America's most trusted face, then burned it all down under the weight of her own image. Ellen wasn't just a TV host. She was a symbol of progress, of kindness, of what daytime could look like in a post-Oprah world. But that symbol cracked because the culture changed, and because the culture made her change too. She gave us a version of herself that looked safe to advertisers, palatable to middle America, and glossy enough for syndication. But in doing that, she also became the thing she used to roast, a mirror of power, of gatekeeping, of the machine. And when the curtain got pulled back, it wasn't just Ellen who got exposed, it was the entire illusion of celebrity wholesomeness. Now, we live in the age of the anti-host, where messiness is marketable, where parasocial collapse is just content, where being real is often a performance too, just one with better lighting. So what is Ellen now? A cautionary tale? A pioneer who flew too close to the spotlight? A relic of a time we don't want back? Or a blueprint for what still might be possible? Maybe all of it. Because here's the real twist. You can cancel the show, you can end the brand, but you can't erase the footprint. Ellen changed the game, and whether you loved her, hated her, or just watched her dance across your screen, you were part of it. So were we. And maybe that's the point. The story was never just about Ellen, it was about the culture that built her, and the one that decided to watch her fall, fade out. No encore, just silence, and a legacy. If this made you rethink what you thought you knew, subscribe. Because this story isn't over, and neither are the others. More exposés, more untold truths, more culture decoded. Hit that button. You're going to want to see what's next.